My grandfather, Frank Iron Miller, 72, didn't just own a mechanic shop. He was part of the pavement. His shop, Miller's Auto Body, was a squat red brick building in downtown Seattle. It smelled of engine oil, burnt rubber, and honest work. It had been there since 1955. Back then, the neighborhood was industrial. Now, it was the tech district. Glass skyscrapers towered over Frank's little shop like giants surrounding a dwarf. Google, Amazon, Facebook, they were all there. The coffee shops sold $9 lattes. The people wore Patagonia vests. And right in the middle of this futuristic utopia sat my grandpa, fixing 1998 Ford trucks and smoking cheap cigars. I'm Jason, 28, his grandson and apprentice. I handled the books, and the books told me we were barely surviving. The property taxes alone were killing us. Then came Sterling Vance. Vance was the CEO of Vanguard Development. He was 35, wore suits that cost more than our shop, and had a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was building the Zenith, a 60-story luxury condo tower right next door. There was just one problem. The Zenith was designed to be wide. To build it, Vance needed our land. He walked into the shop on a rainy Tuesday. He didn't shake hands. He just placed a folder on a greasy workbench. "Frank," Vance said, checking his Rolex, "I'm done playing games. Here is the final offer. $3 million. Cash. You walk away. You retire to Florida. We bulldoze this rust bucket by Friday." $3 million. It was a fortune. It was freedom. I looked at Grandpa. He didn't even look up from the carburetor he was fixing. "Not for sale," Frank grunted. "Don't be an idiot, old man," Vance snapped. "This building is a stain on the neighborhood. I'm offering you a lifeline. If you don't take it, I'll make your life a living hell. I have lawyers who eat guys like you for breakfast." Frank wiped his hands on a rag, walked up to Vance, towering over him despite his age, and pointed to the door. "Get out of my shop and tell your lawyers to bring a lunch." Vance grabbed his folder. "You just made a very expensive mistake, Miller." Vance wasn't joking. 2 weeks later, construction on the Zenith started on the lot surrounding our shop on 3 sides. It wasn't just construction, it was a siege. They started jackhammering at 6 a.m. every single day. The vibration was so bad that tools would fall off our shelves. Customers stopped coming because they couldn't hear themselves think. They didn't use water sprays to keep the dust down. A thick layer of concrete dust covered every car in our lot. We had to pay for professional detailing for every customer vehicle. Their massive cement trucks would accidentally park in front of our driveway, blocking our entrance for hours. When I called the cops, they just shrugged. Vance had permits. But the worst was the crane. A massive tower crane loomed over the site. Every time it swung a load of steel beams, it passed directly over our roof. "That's illegal," Frank said, watching the multi-ton load swing over our heads. "They don't have air rights to swing over my property." We called the city. The inspector came out, took a free lunch from Vance's foreman, and said, "It's fine. Safety protocols are in place." We were losing. Revenue dropped 60%. We were bleeding cash. "Grandpa, maybe we should sell," I whispered one night. "They are going to bankrupt us." Frank looked at the photo of my grandmother, who died in that shop office, on the wall. "It's not about the money, Jason. It's about the principle. A bully doesn't stop because you give him your lunch money. He stops when you break his nose. 3 months passed. The hole for the Zenith was now 80 feet deep. It was a massive pit right next to our property line. Our shop stood on the edge of a cliff. One afternoon, Frank was in the pit, the mechanic's pit under a car, changing oil. Suddenly, the ground shook. Not a vibration, a quake. Frank climbed out, his face pale. "Did you feel that?" "Yeah," I said. "Probably the pile driver." "No," Frank shook his head. "That was deep. That was under us." Frank went to the back of the shop, where our wall met their construction fence. He put his ear to the concrete floor. It was faint, but it was there. "Get the seismometer," Frank said. "The what?" "My old buddy Dave works at the university geology department. Go get him." Dave arrived with sensitive equipment. We placed sensors all over the floor of our shop. The readings spiked. "They are drilling horizontally," Dave confirmed. "They are installing tie-back anchors." "Explain," I said. Dave drew a diagram. "When you dig a hole this deep for a skyscraper, the walls of dirt will collapse inward unless you secure them. The cheapest way to secure the wall is to drill long steel rods, anchors, into the neighbor's soil and inject concrete. They are literally drilling 40 feet under your shop to hold their wall up." "Is that legal?" I asked. "Only if they have your permission," Dave said. "Do they?" Frank smiled, a cold, terrifying smile. "No, they never asked." I wanted to run out and scream at the foreman. Frank stopped me. "Quiet," he ordered. "Let them finish." "What? Grandpa, they are violating our property rights." "If we stop them now, they will just change the design," Frank said, lighting a cigar. "They will use internal bracing. It costs more, but they can do it. No, we wait." "Wait for what?" "We wait until they pour the foundation," Frank said. "We wait until the concrete cures. We wait until that wall is the only thing holding up a $500 million project. Then we pull the pin." For the next 4 weeks, we endured the noise. We endured the insults. Vance came by one last time. "Last chance, Miller. Offer drops to $1 million today. Take it or starve." Frank just looked at him and said, "Get off my land, Vance, before you sink." Vance laughed and walked away. We watched them drill 50 steel anchors under our shop. We watched them pour thousands of gallons of concrete. We watched them build the massive subterranean parking garage walls. Finally, the foundation was done. They were ready to start building upward. That Monday, Frank put on his best suit from 1980. "Grab the file, Jason," he said. "We're going to the courthouse." We didn't just sue for damages. We sued for trespass. We filed an emergency injunction to halt construction. In the courtroom, Vance arrived with 5 high-priced lawyers. He looked bored. "Your Honor," Vance's lead attorney argued, "this is a frivolous nuisance suit by a bitter old man trying to extort my client. We have all permits." "They are trespassing," our lawyer, a scrappy guy named Saul, said. "Trespassing?" Vance's lawyer laughed. "They are on the surface. We are 80 feet down. We aren't touching them." "Call the witness," Saul said. Dave, the geologist, took the stand. He presented the seismic data. He presented the 3D ground-penetrating radar scans we had paid for. The scans clearly showed 50 massive steel rods extending 40 feet into our property, trespassing into our subterranean soil rights. The judge looked at the scans. Then he looked at Vance. "Mr. Vance, do you have an easement to drill under Mr. Miller's land?" Vance whispered to his lawyer. The lawyer turned pale. "Your Honor, it is industry standard practice to—" "I didn't ask about practice," the judge snapped. "I asked about permission. Did you buy the subterranean rights?" "No, Your Honor." The judge slammed his gavel. "Then you have built a structure on land you do not own. That is a permanent trespass." The judge issued a temporary restraining order, TRO. Construction stopped immediately. The silence in the neighborhood was deafening and beautiful. The next day, Vance showed up at the shop. He wasn't smiling. He was sweating. "Okay, Frank, you got me," Vance said, his voice tight. "You want more money? Fine. I'll give you the $3 million. Hell, I'll give you $5 million. Just sign the retroactive easement so we can get back to work." Frank was working on a transmission. He didn't look up. "No." "What do you mean, no?" Vance's voice rose. $5 million! You can buy a mansion! "I don't want a mansion," Frank said. "I want you to remove your property from my land." Vance froze. "Remove it? Frank, those are steel anchors cemented into the earth. They are holding up the foundation wall of a 60-story tower. If we remove them, the wall collapses. The foundation fails. It would cost $50 million to re-engineer." "Sounds like a you problem," Frank said calmly. "You can't be serious," Vance screamed. "You are holding a $500 million project hostage." "You trespassed," Frank said. "Get your junk out from under my shop." Vance didn't give up. He played dirty. He went to the city council. He tried to get the city to seize our shop using eminent domain, seizing private land for public use. He argued that the Zenith would bring tax revenue and jobs, and Frank was blocking progress. It almost worked. The city council scheduled a vote, but Frank had one card left: the public. I started a TikTok channel, The Up House in Real Life. I posted videos of the bullying, the dust, the cranes swinging over us, and finally, the arrogant footage of Vance screaming at my grandpa. He wants to steal a veteran's land because he forgot to ask for permission. The video got 10 million views in 24 hours. Protesters showed up. Not just locals, people from all over the country. They surrounded the construction site, chanting, "Save Frank's shop!" The city council, terrified of bad PR during an election year, voted no on eminent domain. Vance was trapped. 2 months of stalled construction. Vance had taken out massive loans to build the tower. The interest payments were $200,000 a day. Without construction, the bank started asking questions. Investors started pulling out. We watched from the window as Vance paced around the empty construction site, screaming into his phone. He looked like a man drowning. One rainy afternoon, a black car pulled up. It wasn't Vance. It was the bank representatives. They walked into our shop. "Mr. Miller," the banker said, "Mr. Vance has defaulted on his loans. The bank has seized the property. We are now the owners of the Zenith project." Congratulations, Frank said. You still have steel rods under my shop. We know, the banker sighed. We've looked at the engineering reports. To remove the anchors and redesign the wall would cost more than the building is worth at this stage. The project is dead. So? Frank asked. So, we are filling it in, the banker said. We are canceling the tower. We are going to backfill the hole and sell the lot as a parking structure. But we need you to drop the lawsuit so we can legally liquidate the assets. Frank thought about it. I'll drop the suit, Frank said. On one condition. Name it. You fix my roof. You repaint my shop, and you pay for the detailing of every car that got dusted. The banker blinked. That's it? You don't want millions? I have enough money, Frank said. I just want my quiet back. 6 months later. The Zenith was gone. The massive pit was filled in with dirt. The bank turned it into a flat, ground-level parking lot. The towering crane was dismantled. The sun shone on our shop again. Frank was sitting in his lawn chair in front of the open bay door, smoking a cigar. The shop was freshly painted, paid for by the bank. The roof was new. Business was booming because the viral fame made us the most popular shop in Seattle. I sat next to him. Grandpa, I asked, you turned down $5 million. Are you crazy? Frank looked at the empty parking lot next door. Jason, look at that lot. What do you see? Nothing. It's empty. Exactly, Frank smiled. I see the sky. I see the sun. If I took that money, I'd be in a condo in Florida, dying of boredom. And this place? It would be a shadow. He took a puff of his cigar. A man's home is his castle, kid, even if it's a rust bucket. And you never let a king tell you to move your castle.